Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident. Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome Theresa Vermillion. Theresa is the creator of Lighter Life Coach. She believes there's a different way to get healthy because getting healthy involves so much more than diet and exercise. Theresa uses personal empowerment coaching to guide women to end the struggle with overweight and overwhelm so they can have a lighter body and a lighter life. Her expertise comes from experience and knowledge in education, health, personal growth, fitness, and life coaching. Theresa has a degree in education along with multiple certifications in health and fitness. She lives in Cincinnati, Ohio with her husband and occasionally one of their 3 grown kids. Theresa's favorite things are being outside, learning new things, and playing with her dog, Magic. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Theresa. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm excited for this conversation, especially because the listeners wouldn't know. We had the fortunate opportunity to meet one another this past weekend in Salt Lake City at an event. And now it made me even more excited to do this interview because it's great that we've seen each other on many calls, on Zoom calls for speakers, authors, and coaches and the Impact Academy. But it's nice to actually see somebody and actually be able to give them hugs and just connect. So I'm so excited about this conversation. So Theresa, one of the things in life that is really important to me, especially since starting my podcast is, and it's been like this my whole life, really, I like understanding people's origin story. And no, that's not just your back end of where you finished school and how you got, to your place that you're at. It's your origin from your earliest recollections to things that happen in your life that help you pivot as you got older and are the reason you are who you are today. So Theresa, tell me your origin story and what key things from your childhood to adulthood that led you to where you're at currently.
Wow. I thought you said we were going to do this for an hour.
Well, if the whole hour takes up your origin, that's great. I have no problems with it. I've had people with their origins be 25, 30 minutes, and I'm fine with that. But the more they share, the more the listeners get to know who you are and connect. Vulnerability and storytelling are how we connect to people and build that relationship. And then they understand better why they want to get a hold of you, right? For you to assist them. So sure, tell me whatever you want to tell me.
I am born and raised in the Midwestern United States in Ohio, and I am the third of 6 kids. So very traditional upbringing as far as mom, dad in the home. Dad worked, mom worked also part-time as a nurse when the youngest got in school. And I'd say that right there probably shapes a lot of who I am and who I'm becoming. I did swim team, played soccer, worked at a restaurant, did cheerleading. My brothers, I had four siblings or brothers, and they all did sports and football, and went to an all-girls high school. So that helped create some of that. And As I did not like school as a kid. I would say I hated school. Hate is such a strong word, but I hated school as a kid. High school wasn't too bad. So, when the idea that college was optional was very much in my mind, and I'm like, no way am I going to do more school, right? And the background and belief that was in my family and my parents was going to college is how you live the American dream and how you have upward mobility as far as your socioeconomic status, which is what you want for your children, basically, right? You don't want them to be bums. You want them to be able to have all of the tools they need to go be successful in life. And so I didn't want to go to college, and I didn't express that in so many words, but my mom knew that I didn't have a plan. So she kind of stuck me in nursing school. She was a nurse, and that was not a good fit for me at all. So I actually kind of flunked out of nursing school. But there is so much I learned that I used all the time. I used it raising my kids. I used it, getting my personal trainer certification, getting my health coaching certification, which obviously happened later in life. So quit that, worked for Pepsi for a year, went back and got my degree in education, which was that is my state. That's when I am in flow, is just trying to find ways to explain something to people that it turns on that light bulb, that they get that aha moment, that they understand the concepts I'm trying to teach them. So that lets me use my creativity to try and find, how I can make it the simplest for them to understand, because, I knew what it was like to be a student in school and not like school. So I tried really hard to make sure that didn't happen for my students. I'm still human. I know I messed up a lot. So, but yeah, that was it. And then after then I met my husband, we got married, and then we started moving for his job. I was 8 months pregnant when we moved to North Carolina and had 2 kids there, and was 8 months pregnant when we moved back to Ohio. And then we moved to Singapore for 2 years and back. And so that really kind of got me to my current day origin story, which gets me to, I was then taking care of everybody else. It was, which as it should be, there were 3 young children. They needed to be taken care of, right? But it was also, that cliche of, it really was all about my kids. I didn't know it, but I don't think we understand, especially as women in that role, that what it looks like to take care of ourselves, or the importance of it. So I was overwhelmed. I was overweight. I was at the bottom of my own to-do list, and felt very stuck, because you don't know how to even you don't even have time to stop and catch your breath to try and figure out how to get unstuck, or how to stop the struggle. And life isn't supposed to be that way. Life is supposed to be, it is a crazy, wild journey, but we know we're supposed to be, have a degree of satisfaction and happiness and joy along the way as we, ride the crazy train. So I had to sit on that fence for a little bit and figure out, where do you want me, God? What do you want me to do? I'll do what you tell me, but didn't feel like I was getting that message for a while. And so then I became a certified personal trainer, because I knew I would have to walk the talk and get my health back and get in shape myself. And then to keep current with that certification, and that was a fabulous time. I worked at our local community center, which was attached to the school. So I saw people on the sports fields and at church and at school and at work. And it was just really made my community tight, and I loved it. And I'm still here. I don't not love it, but I don't work at the same place anymore, and the kids are grown. So then I got my health coach certification, and really wanted to use that more in a coaching aspect. And I wasn't going to be able to do that at that present job. And then, so I kind of, was thinking, how can I do this? And then I actually had an injury, for lack of a better word, and needed surgery on my back, which I had and was very successful. But in the meantime, they took me off payroll, and I launched into my career that I'm on. And I found as a health coach, and it was just this whole that's probably an answer to another question, but when I just found the whole coaching process of asking questions and listening to people and just kind of drawing more out of them, I kind of realized like there are some things that the diet and fitness industry is getting wrong, and that there's a different way to do this.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, that's a great origin. I'm just looking at all the notes I wrote down. You said you went to an all-girls high school and you hated school. Why did you hate school? Was there bullying? Was there challenges in your home life? What made it so you didn't? I know why I hated school, because I did too, but why did you hate school?
I think looking in retrospect, um, well, first of all, I will say none of us are designed to learn in an environment where we're sitting at a desk all day. Given,
Agreed.
right? Now,
Agreed.
is that appropriate sometimes for a little bit of the day? Sure. Are there more creative ways of how we as humans learn and absorb information? Absolutely. So I think I was definitely smart. I am definitely smart. I mean, honestly, I think it was a little bit of ADHD going on that just was, that rarely gets diagnosed properly in girls, because most of the studies are done only on boys and it presents very different in girls. And I think there was just a lot of not finishing the assignments, not finishing the homework, being the last one done with everything, feeling like an outsider. It's such a great question. It's like, I just know that I didn't like it, but
Was social pressure have anything to do with it? Like we talk about peer pressure in school and trying to keep up, like as adults, we try to keep up with the Joneses and Smiths and what they accomplish or what they have. But I think we feel that already back in school, as early as middle school into high school. Do you think social pressures were part of what caused that for you?
maybe, certainly, with my sister was only 13 months older than me, and there was that expectation of doing well in school, and to that point, I think there was a time there where I thought it was cute for blondes to be dumb, that it was expected for blondes to be dumb, that so I think there was a little bit of that undercurrent that women aren't supposed to be smart enough and achieve that much. Like, you can be a little bit smart, you can achieve a little bit, but so yeah, maybe there was a little bit of that, societal undercurrent going on. Other than that, I think it was more like so strongly independent in my own feelings and in my own bodies. I really want to stop those doors from.
So you would mention as well, Teresa, that you felt stuck raising kids. I hear that a lot. I felt that myself. I can resonate with that. As a single dad of 5 kids, I felt stuck. I put their needs above mine all the time. And as you mentioned, that's what we do as parents. And I get that. We want what's best for our children, but the thing that suffers is our needs, our connection to ourself, because we give up so much of ourselves. We help them get off to school. We do our daily chores, our tasks. Then we're feeding them and we're helping them get to do homework or get to extracurricular, or get to bed. Then we got to do, somewhere in between there, we got laundry to do. We got dishes to clean up. And I can totally relate to that comment where you said you felt stuck, right? And you feel sometimes like you're sitting on the fence. And I felt that too. I used to pray to God all the time, like, God, what's your will for me today? I'd wake up with that quiet desperation, because it was not just the fact of how was I going to deal with all the time that I needed to invest into the family and my business. It was the financial, as you've gotten to know about me, even it was discussed in the weekend, and that quiet desperation. So, for me, I just had to learn to constantly give it up to God. Um, Again, for those listeners that aren't God fearing and you're agnostic or you're atheist or you're into nature, whatever, we all get stuck in different ways. And, we reach out to people such as Theresa or myself. Maybe we can help get you unstuck and you won't be there as long as possibly we were. I don't know how long Theresa felt stuck for, but I went through that valley of despair, that highs, those lows, and that's not fun. None of us deserve to live like that. And some of what we're going to discuss with Theresa is how you can help yourself through nutrition and health and working on your 6 inches between your ears. So Theresa, you and I believe that getting healthy involves more than diet and exercise. I personally know the struggles I have faced to adhere to a diet and consistent exercise, sometimes due to physical injury and other times just due to my mental state of mind. What do you believe is the reason people fail on their road to consistent, proper nutrition and exercise?
Ooh, such a great question, because when we fail on those attempts, we blame ourselves, right? We think, I just can't do this. I need more discipline. I need more motivation. And I feel like, in all honesty, and this is kind of hard to say because I came from this industry. Like, I am a certified personal trainer. I very much worked with my clients on fitness and, what to eat and tracking your weight and doing it just by measurement. But I think the reason why people fail is because that's what we're focused on. I feel like the health and diet industry kind of got it a little bit wrong, not on purpose. The diet industry, it is, it's a $7 billion a year industry. And in America, we still have an obesity problem, and I heard somebody describe it recently as like, it's a business. They're into marketing. They're not personally interested in your health. They're interested in making money. So that, I not to throw them completely under the bus, because I do think that a lot of these companies do start out with, at least, with that goal in mind. I certainly started my business with the goal in mind of helping people. So what happens though, I think, let's think about it, Dwight. When you go on a diet, what are you doing? You're changing your habits, right? It's all about changing habits. And if anybody's paying attention to people that are talking about thought models or how we can really grow as, have that personal growth and change and get unstuck, it starts with thoughts and beliefs and feelings. So if you're just trying to, change those diets, force yourself to eat the baked chicken and the broiled broccoli every day, and you hate chicken and broccoli, it's more like, let's connect this to our emotions. Let's connect this to ourselves and our beliefs that we have about ourselves. And when those come into alignment and we learn, we really create, we understand that we can create who we want to be and who we're becoming, then it becomes much more natural to choose what we put into our bodies. And we're not just forcing a habit, we are changing, the beliefs and thoughts and emotions that we're having about food in our bodies and our lives. And, because so many people, like, it's emotional eating. We eat to numb out.
Yeah, we do. And, we'll talk more about that as well. But you're right. We blame ourselves. We have a successful day on nutrition, or we might have successful months where we're following the nutrition and the exercise. It's working great. And that broccoli and chicken you talk about, I hear that from so many people. They get coaching or they coach themselves via the internet, and they don't understand that life is, we're living. You got to have variety. You can still have variety and have a great nutritional lifestyle. I personally don't really like the word diet. We all have a diet. Even somebody that's unhealthy, you have a North American diet of eating meat and potatoes and Doritos every day and drinking a pop. That's a diet, right? It's a nutritional lifestyle, and sticking to it with your 6 inches and making sure you connect to why you're doing it, having your why. So in business, we have to have a why. Well, why do you want to be healthy? It's the same thing. Why do you want to be that way? And I started 4 years ago. As of November 1st, I've been living a keto nutrition lifestyle. I don't call it, people say, oh, you're on that keto diet. No, I'm on a nutritional journey, a lifestyle where I've had hills and valleys. I've found good people to follow and, mentor me. And there's terrible people, like you mentioned, the diet industry, $7 billion that are just out. They'll give that facade or that information to help you, but it's really about money. It's not about really helping you, right? They're not really connecting, as you mentioned, ourselves, our beliefs, and where we're at to ensure that we stay on that routine. Nobody wants to eat broccoli and chicken every day the rest of their life, right? Or I hear chicken and rice, and you know what I mean. That, and people that get stuck in that rut of every day, working out and eating the same way, and all of a sudden you hit a wall. I found I hit a wall if I don't keep some variety in my diet and in what I do for exercise, and even those I associate with and talk to about it. It's easy to hit that wall and fall off that cliff. The next thing you know, you gain. That's why so many diets fail, right? Or nutritional changes, because people don't have variety. They get to their goal, their target. They target, in my opinion, I want your opinion on that, target a weight. Okay, I weigh 195. I want to be 165, right? I want to lose 30 pounds. And when they reach that, all of a sudden they've arrived and they go back into old habits. So what's your thought in regards to that, targeting just a weight, as opposed to, like, the industry itself targets a lot of weight, jump on the scale. And I know myself, I stopped doing that. I go and check my weight once in a while, but I still see body changes, yet I'm still holding the same weight. But we get so fixated in this industry and around the world to pick a target weight, weigh yourself every day, beat yourself up. Oh my goodness, I didn't lose 1 pound, I gained 3. And they don't understand water weight and all the retention issues. So give me your thoughts about targeting versus on a specific number, and how people can get past that thought process.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, and to your point, you're right. Diet, that kind of a diet is not sustainable, right? I mean, has anybody ever been on a diet trying to lose weight and then be afraid to go out with your friends because you don't want to, you're not going to be able to eat something other than your chicken and broccoli, right? And you're going to want to enjoy yourself, and yes, I mean, food is one of the physical ways we can experience physical pleasure, and we've just turned it into a punishment. So, but yeah, so picking a target weight, to the short answer, tells your brain that this is temporary. It gives your brain an ending point, which is another reason why diets fail. We think we are going to stay on this until I hit that target weight or I'm a certain size. And let me just jump right in there with myself and say, that's really when we go on a diet, when we want to get healthy, when we want to lose weight. And I think you spoke to this. It's like, it's not about the number on the scale we want. We want a feeling in our bodies. We want to feel good in our skin again. We want our jeans to feel good, And so when we understand that we make choices usually based on feelings, not necessarily, our end results, that is one way we can shift everything. So this idea that I have an end result in mind, and when I hit that, number one, we don't have, plans for follow-up. Weight Watchers used to always be like, it's much harder to maintain than it is to lose. And you're like, okay, I'll deal with that when I get there, because I've done all the diets. I did, I'm technically a Weight Watchers lifetime member. It took me a couple tries to get there, but I mean, I don't, participate in that program anymore. I never even thought of myself as a yo-yo dieter because it wasn't intentional. You'd lose some weight, it'd gradually come back on. And, it wasn't until really very recently that I realized, oh my gosh, that is, but I wasn't doing it on purpose, it was so by accident. I was like, well, that's not an eating disorder. I'm like, yeah. So the idea of having that number, and like you said, you can lose 10 or 20 pounds, but you want to lose a little bit more. And this idea of having this target weight, and like you said, it fluctuates. And, I think maybe women more than men, but not exclusive of men. Like hormones plays a big role in that. What you ate, if you ate something salty or didn't eat something salty, because the salt in our bodies wants to be at an equilibrium all the time, which is why you get thirsty when you eat something salty, because your body has more salt in its system than it wants. And so it has to equal that out. So fun facts, right? But in particular, I think women, I'm not saying doesn't apply to men. I do think it applies more to women than it does men, that we have been conditioned to believe that we need to be a certain weight. We need to be a certain size. We need to be a certain age. We need to be a certain look to have value and worth. And so I know so many amazing women, and this really is kind of what turned me towards this message and this direction that I'm on now, this path of being like, oh, Nellie, hold on, this is backwards. That, I see so many amazing women, and some of them are my personal training clients. And then I would have like really intimate discussions with close friends, and they're out there just crushing life. They're taking care of their kids. They're taking care of themselves. They're taking care of their house, their husbands. Everybody has either side hustle or a full-time job, right? And nobody felt good about any of it. And then they're wondering why they don't have the time and energy to get to the gym and eat, their broccoli and chicken. And it's like, and they feel like they're not doing enough because we've been conditioned as women. I know in particular that's how we're supposed to do it. Like, we're supposed to have it all. We're supposed to look good. We're supposed to have our act together all the time. And so many women do, but then we're beating ourselves up about it because it's not enough. It's not good enough.
Well, the world has put so much pressure on women. I see with, four of my kids are girls, they're women. And I see the pressure they've been under since they were younger to where they're all adults now. And, with the pandemic, weight go up, weight go down. Like, people joke about the COVID-19, he gained 19 pounds, and people joke about it, but it's an uncomfortable comment when people are talking about it. And I hear it, I haven't heard it from men, I hear it from women. And a majority of the people that I'm friends with, close friends with, and communicate with quite regularly are women. But it's just the way my life's been, probably because I was a single dad. I just had a lot of women around me, and they supported me and I supported them, and I relied a lot on them to understand, this is what one of my daughters is going through. Oh yeah, I felt that way. And sometimes I'd get good advice, sometimes bad advice, but you're right. It's terrible what women have been conditioned to feel. And why it's so important that I have you on and we have this conversation, because being a mom, because yes, majority of the people on the planet, women are the caregiver, the primary caregiver. I'm not saying men don't participate. Mine is a very unique, right? So when I bring it up, it isn't to take away from the fact that women are way more subjugated to garbage in the way that people in society look at them.
How beautiful
women,
that you relate to it, though.
yeah. So, of
So
course, it just breaks my heart when I see my daughters have talked about it, or them starving themselves potentially, and watching what they eat. That's not life. Like you mentioned, that when food is a physical pleasure, we want to go out and we want to dine out. I know even this past weekend when we were in Salt Lake and I was eating out, and I'm trying to live my nutritional life. And I'm not saying it's a chore, because it's not. When I'm at home, it's not a chore. When I'm out and I'm gone for 3-4 days, it's a chore, because most of the restaurants you go to, and it's sugar and too much sodium and additives, preservatives. And initially I did have that gut feeling. I thought to myself, oh, I got to do this. Well, it was torture on my 6 inches through my ears. It was like, you know what, whatever. Yeah, I might have a little bit of a backlash. My body's not going to like the fact that I've had a little bit of gluten when I've been gluten free for years, or doesn't like sugar. But you know what? I enjoyed a couple times that I did, I guess what people would call that cheat meal, right? That cheat experience. But I see that pressure on women more so ever than men, right? That they feel that guilt. Well, you're raising those listening, you're raising young kids, or even if your kids are all growing up, quit beating yourself up. Just find somebody like Theresa that can mentor you to help you figure out a game plan to put it in place. But again, it's more than just a game plan of what you should eat and how much you should exercise. It's about loving who you are, the skin that you're in, and just feeling good about your body, feeling good about being on the clothes. I know when I started keto, I was 40 pounds. I wanted to lose 40 pounds. I accomplished it. And now I've been, I'm not, I want to say consistent, where I used to track everything every single day, all of my macros. I tracked absolutely everything. Now I call it dirty keto. What do I mean by that? I will have those cheat days. I'm going out with friends. I'm not saying I go just completely guns ho and ballistic and eat everything I want, but I might eat my keto meal, or wherever we're going out to eat, I'll stick with what I want to normally eat. And I might have dessert. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I have that, life's too short, right? I want to have that physical pleasure. So yeah, I appreciate what he's saying. Yo-yo dieter. How many of us have been there? Like you said, you've been there. I've been there too. Up and down, up and down. I had to finally realize that it was so much more than just nutrition, exercise, and working on my thought process. So I appreciate what you had to say. So Theresa, you use personal empowerment coaching to guide women to end the struggle with overweight and overwhelm so that they can have a lighter body and a lighter life. When you speak of overwhelm, is this caused due to current and past life experience that caused them to get in that state and not be able to achieve their weight goals?
Is it past life circumstances? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So, you basically, you get to a point where people feel overwhelmed by life, as we mentioned, right? They're raising kids, they're maybe going to a job, they got all these extraordinary circumstances happening and extra pressures on their life, and they find it really hard to achieve their weight goals. But I believe some of this is from the past as well as the current. And I wanted to understand what your thought process is. Do you believe that their past and their present are a big part of the reason why they can't achieve that ultimate goal weight that they want to hit, and then they become stuck?
Yeah, it's a really tight wound ball of yarn. It really is. And just to follow up real quick too with what we were talking about a minute ago, like modeling that for our daughters. Like, I did not know, as I was raising my daughter and 2 sons, what I know now. And I think it's really important that we do address it with our sons, because if you're in a relationship with a woman, whether it's your mom, your sister, your significant other, friends, it doesn't matter. Like, if women have body image issues and don't feel good about themselves, that's going to affect your relationship with them, regardless of how it is. To the tightly wound ball of yarn, yes, and yes. Like, yes, it comes from the past, because what happens, Dwight, and you're probably, pretty familiar with this, like, we tell ourselves things, and sometimes other people tell us things and we believe it. We take it on as our identity, and it's not always true. For some people it might be, well, our family is big boned, or it's in our genes. We'll always be an overweight family. And I use that just as an example of some of the other things. There may have been something that kid said to you in 4th grade, or something, I still worry about, like, what kind of messages did I send to my daughter without meaning to, about her body, about her health, about what's important in life, what's not important in life. And so, yeah, we kind of, so if we're those moms that are just doing it all, or, career women or dads, whatever our circumstances are in life, that we are not able to prioritize ourselves because so many other things are more important at that moment. Then we tell ourselves it's not possible. I can't do this. It's too hard. I don't have time. I don't, we can buy, how many people have like bought all the stuff and then let it go rotten in their refrigerator? This week I'm eating salads, and then 2 weeks later you're throwing out the rotten lettuce, right? It happens. And, so it is, like you said, paying attention to those 6 inches between our ears about, and I mean, I've done this, as silly as this sounds, and I'm going to say it out loud, but I'll be like, I really want a salad, but cutting up the lettuce just sounds like so much work, right? Or I don't have time because I really need to, I have this interview in a few minutes, or have to get to the next thing. And is that true? Like, no, cutting up lettuce is not work. It's not. It's easy. It's like, it might not be what I want to do. I might rather sit on the couch and keep reading my book, or scrolling social media, or petting my dog, or, resting because we're so tired, right? So it's just realizing, it's not that much work, or knowing that we can choose to do it. If you choose not to do it, that's okay too. But what we're doing too, in that point, like, when we are so overwhelmed, or we do feel stuck, and a lot of this comes from those emotions that we have, right? That we're not dealing with, we're not talking about them because we just think we have to do all the actions. We're not talking about the feelings behind those actions. So what do? We want to try and calm those uncomfortable feelings. It feels uncomfortable in our bodies. Somewhere along the line, we learned that it was wrong to feel uncomfortable. And my coaches are like, guess what? 50% of life is uncomfortable. And you're like, oh, crap. Because I did, somewhere along the line, got a thought and a belief that it doesn't feel good to be upset, or be angry, or feel ignored, or feel disappointed, even if we're disappointed in ourselves, or to feel like we've been criticized, or even if it's a physical feeling, like I am exhausted, or I am really hungry. When you're hungry, it's a lot easier just to rip open whatever you have in front of you than to peel a carrot. I like to buy my carrots that you have to peel, because there's probably more nutritional value in the ones that they created that you don't have to peel. But that's my choice. So I can't use the excuse if it's too much work to peel a carrot if I'm choosing to buy the carrot that I want peeled, right? So back to the uncomfortable feelings, we want to not feel that. We want to avoid that phone call we need to make, or we're mad at what our mom said, or what our sister did, or, whatever the teacher said about your kid. We don't want to feel that. And so a lot of times we use food to try and soothe that feeling. We think that food is going to fix whatever's going on. And, and it's not always food. It can be food. It can be wine. It can be Netflix. It can be social media. It can be shopping. We all have our, you're doing keto. And I'm like, so I'd be like, so, okay, Dwight, what do you do when you feel those uncomfortable feelings? What's your outlet? Some people are, they get addicted to working out because they can do that instead of deal with their emotions. And I'm not saying any of it's wrong. We have to realize none of this has judgment at all. We all do it, right? I'm still human. I still have to coach myself. And if I'm not doing a good coach myself, I reach out to my coaches. But it's like, okay. And it's okay to do those things. Like, if, you're going to drink your bottle of wine while you're cooking dinner every night. Okay, let's bring awareness to it. Like, what's going on that I want to do this, when later you're mad at yourself because it was not on your diet, or too many calories, or you just wake up tired. We have to remember
it's tied to that. Yeah, it's tied to it.
Sugar wreaks havoc on our bodies, and we don't realize it. And sugar's like everything we have is laced with sugar, right? And I mean added processed sugar. I don't mean the sugar in carrots or the sugar in bananas. Those are natural sugars that are fine. I mean, our body runs on sugar, right? It's going to take and it needs the proteins and the fat to synthesize that, but it's going to take those carbs that we eat. And I'm not always just talking about bread or rice, or pasta. It's whatever So like if we eat a banana, our body takes that sugar, uses it for energy. And if we don't burn it off, it's just going to store it for energy later in the form of fat.
Yeah.
So, I just like when I say sugars, let me be very clear, you can just think of like things that like how many steps did it take to my table, I mean, bananas apparently have a pretty large carbon footprint, but even like if it's food you grew and it's one step from your garden to your table, that's going to be way healthier than something that was multiple steps before you got it to your table to eat it.
Yeah. So you're so correct. I liked how you went back and forth in regards to it, but there's, so many things that are learned behaviors. Like you mentioned the big bone thing. Like I've heard that sort of, and then people use that as a justification as they grow up and become adults because they heard something from their parents or friends or family or media. Big
Mhm.
boned. I laugh when I hear that because you're not big boned. Like that's whatever part of
Our,
society and the old wives' tale or old man's tale, whatever you want to say that came from. But people get stuck. So
we're
they use
also,
that as an excuse.
we're
Yeah.
not all supposed to be 5'5" and 115. No, but like that's not even
And
that's not
like
the
the
world
big
be.
people will, and then you hear people that you look at an industry now that they project the fact that it's okay to be overweight, love the body you're in. Well, it's not that I don't think that you should not love the body you're in. The issue I have is that what it causes to your organs, your joints, because usually people that are really overweight aren't exercising, their joints aren't getting lubricated, they have health issues that are directly tied to their nutrition and lack of exercise, which puts a burden on our healthcare system, which literally it it's a sad state that we're living in, where the media, they already manipulate our thought processes on politics, on religion, and they really, in the last, most of my life, they're targeting people and manipulating them with their weight and just everything about it. It's and what we eat and what we put in, and the government lets it get by because it's all tax dollars, it's all money. They don't care. They don't look at the long-term effects of what happens to people. And you mentioned about the fact, like you're preparing supper, you drink that bottle of wine. Well, I have clients like that, and then they're wondering why they wake up the next day, lethargic, or they're upset at their kids. Well, their body's literally detoxifying. You can't get away with drinking a bottle of wine every single day. You just can't. The sugars that are in that. Yes, the grapes may have natural sugars, but when wine's fermented, that sugar is not healthy for you. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a glass of wine. Everything in
Right.
life can be done, just about everything, not everything, but just about everything can be done in moderation. And you mentioned about the fact of addictions, and right, addictions are come in all forms. People automatically think that drugs and alcohol are the only addictions out there, but food is a huge addiction. So you
Mhm.
also mentioned people will turn to food for comfort. I know people that avoid it because of the
Mhm.
fact of they, and when they should be eating more.
Mm.
Specifically, I've had that challenge with my daughters, right, where they avoid, or even my son too. I won't even discount him because he's a male gender. He's literally, he'll say to me, he moved out a couple of years ago, he's actually moving back this weekend. He says to me, I'll say to him, so how's things going? You eat, we want to get together. Well, let's go meet for supper. Come over to dad's. I'll make supper. Well, I'm not really hungry. What do you eat today? Nothing. Well, son, that's fine that you do that once in a while, but I literally, sometimes we have to challenge the people we love. That's not healthy for you. So one of the things he's excited about moving home is eating more consistently, right? And which makes me glad, but I have to work more on him so that that becomes a learned behavior for him to consistently think to himself, I need to eat healthy. I need to eat consistently. And I will add what I mean by consistently. I don't believe that my personal belief, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, wrong. Our bodies take 6 to 8 hours to process what we eat. We wake up. So let's talk about the person that drank the bottle of wine and they wake up men and women both do it. If it's not a bottle of wine, it's a 6-pack of beer or whatever. I have clients that do that. They wake up and the society says you have to have breakfast, and they're not necessarily hungry. So they eat a big breakfast. 2-3 hours later, what are they doing? Oh, lunch is the most important meal of the day. Other people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I'm confused. So I'm going to eat a big breakfast. I'm going to eat a big lunch. And then come supper time, I'm going to eat some more, and I'm going to sit on my ass and I'm not going to do anything. And oh my goodness, I'm going to drink some more wine, drink some more beer. I'm going to spike my blood sugar up. I'm going to go into store mode because I've had too many carbs. And our society is so confused right now. And it's the media and it's the message from our family and friends. And cutting through the noise is so important. So it's so imperative, listeners, that you tie to people like Theresa to learn the things that you can do. And she was vulnerable. And so have I. We're a work in project the rest of our life when it comes to our nutrition, right? And exercise and doing the right things. Yeah.
All of our personal growth is a work in progress. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying it's not important to be healthy or that we don't try. I'm just saying, let's do it a different way. Let's do it in a way
differently.
In fact, my broad coaching program is 3 pillars of light. I have 3 pillars of light. They're empower your mind, embrace your body, and elevate your energy. And when I talk about embracing your body, and I have to be sure that people are ready to hear this. Because again, we're so conditioned to thinking we have to be a certain size or certain weight in order to love our bodies. But I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to say, you know what? When you can learn to love your body as it is now, or love the idea that you have a body, right? I mean, it's your soul's home. So love your body, and then it is much easier to achieve a look that you want your body to have. Instead of saying I have to look a certain way before I can love myself, if I can show myself some love, even just show myself some love, then it's much easier to come into alignment and give our bodies what they really want and what they really need.
Yeah, I completely agree. We got to love our body or in. When I'm commenting about the fact of how it's hard on our health and our organs, I'm talking about, I guess, let's be blunt, obese people. You can be somebody that's 5'4", 5'8", 6'2", or whatever, and have a little bit of extra weight on and still be happy and be happy the rest of your life. But if you're somebody that's 5'4" and you're 300 pounds, it's really hard for people, because then they look at themselves in the mirror and it's the image that they don't really want to see. And they follow the diet, the crash diets or the new fad diets. They go to a gym and they go a couple times and they expect the results too soon, right? I'd like to hear what you think about that, because right now in our society today, they've realized it took you 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, to gain all that weight, and you want to lose it so quickly. And there's all these diet fads, or pop this pill or do this or do that, and you can lose it quickly, or go to the gym 7 days a week, work out twice a day, and you'll lose all this weight. But it's not really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really attainable or consistent, because their expectations on themselves are way too high. What are your thoughts about that?
Let's go back and what's going on there. It breaks my heart to hear that, like, when people are overweight, that they're embarrassed to walk into the gym. I feel like there's probably just a lot of judgment, probably more from themselves, because society has told them that they're not a size that's worthy, right? So we have so much shame, we have so much embarrassment. We're disappointed in ourselves. This wasn't what I didn't expect to get 55 pounds overweight when I was moving back and forth to Singapore and having 3 kids, but I didn't know what to do to make sure it didn't happen either. And, we do judge ourselves, and it's like learning to be like, you know what? I'm not where I want to be right now with my health, but I'm still worthy of love. I'm still a valuable person, and I have a lot of really good things going on in my life. And if I don't, then I can choose to change those as well, right? So, and it goes back, and that's a choice we have to make. Everything goes back to choices that we make. Are you telling yourself, this is too hard for me? Sometimes we know we want to start a diet and want to lose weight, and we're already thinking this is going to be so hard. Well, if that's our thought, then guess what? It's going to be hard. And I'm not saying, it's not sometimes bumps in the road if we don't know what to do, that's a problem too. I mean, I happen to have a lot of experience with this, that I know what to do now. But I mean, and actually, I mean, really, for anybody listening, simple, right? Fruits, vegetables, water, sleep, no processed sugar, no processed foods, no fast food. I mean, it's not, I mean, you can read headlines and not even read articles and know what we need to do. So it really does go back to that emotion and those emotions of shame and embarrassment. And I felt them all. And they come from that judgment that, that we're putting on ourselves. Yes, because we believe that we're supposed to. We've been taught that, society is judging us. And I love to see people that are comfortable in their bodies. And, you can usually tell when people are comfortable in their bodies, regardless of their shape and size. And, so I mean, that would be a first step to be like, you know what, not the size I want to be now. I'm figuring out how I'm going to get there, and it's okay. And it's okay.
That's how you break that mindless emotional eating, right?
Yes.
It's just different steps.
Yeah. And I mean, you get the cliche things, the bubble bath, but I mean, those things are nice to do, but how do we shift that? I mean, you have to shift that belief about yourself too. You have to shift those thoughts. You could go take a bubble bath as many nights in a row as you want until you believe that you are able to achieve this, your desire, your to be comfortable in your body again. I won't even say a desired goal, because we, like, that's silly. We just want to be comfortable with ourselves again. So to know, like, okay. And I mean, I'm human. I'm in my 50s. I've had 3 kids. I have my mom's thighs, I'll be like, sometimes you're like, oh, look at those legs. And you're like, those are my legs. Those got me out of bed this morning.
Gratitude.
That's what carries my soul through this world.
That's awesome. Gratitude.
Yeah. Whose idea was it that cellulite is not sexy? I'm still working on that one. have not.
Or even stretch marks. Guys have them too.
I have not overcome that thought yet about cellulite not being sexy, but I'm like, that's just an idea. We don't have to believe that.
Yeah, it's pivoting and changing society's definition of sexy and what's attractive. I know myself, before I did ketosis, I had been coasting in life and, eating improperly, sometimes eating healthy, because I was trying to teach and represent to my kids a different way of living. But all of a sudden I was having health issues. I have a degenerative spine disease, so it was causing a lot of problems. And I remember going to my doctor, and I've been going to physio for years. And they said, you know what? And they used a representation of showing me what, 5 pounds of weight was, right? Mm-hmm. Literally, it was a model of 5 pounds or 10 pounds. If you could take off some weight, you'll have less problems with your lower back and, your energy levels. Because prior to that, I had done the calorie counting. I'd use my Fitness Pal. I had tried, I'd be starving myself to death, or I'd look at it and go, oh, I only got like 200 more calories. What am I going to eat? And I didn't understand nutrition and macros. And I didn't, all those things, like you said, we know we're not really necessarily where we want to be, but we get comfortable. We ride that society's, we just accept the fact.
Yeah, exactly. You were doing what you were taught to do.
Exactly.
Right? It's really like, we have to release any judgment about.
It was tough.
Now I do. I hear that and I'm just like, but I mean, I did it too. And, we were talking about the men and the boys, and you were talking about your son. If I could just share this real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
I do have 2 sons, and my youngest wrestles. He's a collegiate wrestler. And so they're constantly watching their weight, right?
Yeah.
And his girlfriend is a wrestler, and wrestlers, and they're strategic about how they cut weight. When he started wrestling, I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. And now I understand the strategy behind it. But it's also like one of those things you want to be aware of, and in some ways I feel like now, he gets it now. He knows that. In fact, the other day he's like, if I eat cookies, I feel like crap. I don't have the energy I want to have at practice like I do when I eat fruits and vegetables. So just realize, like, it is a choice, and it's a choice you can make. But, there are certain lifestyles, if there are any gymnasts, or, any kind of a former athlete where you're used to burning all those calories and now you're not, there's all kinds of different circumstances. It goes back to, like you were saying, is that our past that gets us stuck, or our present that gets us stuck? And, again, it's not your fault. It just is. And if it's not where you want to be, let's figure out what we need to do it and choose that.
And find somebody that you can connect to, that, because we do that in personal development. We find somebody that can help us accountable to ourselves, not be accountable to them, accountable to ourselves, to give us that reminder, to give us that, why, just those why questions. Theresa, why do you want, you're beating yourself up. Why did you initially start this nutritional journey? Why did you want to lose some weight? Why did you start exercising? What was going on in your life? And actually delve down and deep into that 6 inches between to help you remind yourself, or have the initial realization why you're doing it. And for myself, I didn't have anybody necessarily when I started keto 4 years ago to talk to. So I'm an analytical person. I did tons of research. I found a doctor that I follow still today, 4 years later, and a fitness guru that I watch their videos. They don't beat you up. They don't make you feel guilty. They tell you, sometimes you're going to slip, and you're going to do this, and you're going to have, like you talked about your son and the cookies. Well, that feeling he feels the next day, I call that a food hangover. I get those, right? And, I'll have that dessert, as I mentioned, or I'll have a little bit of a cheat, and I feel it the next day. And sometimes it's bad enough that it's like, man, so the next time that I have that opportunity to do that cheat, or have those cookies or have that dessert, I'll think to myself, no, the last time I did that, I woke up the next day feeling like garbage, and my energy levels were low, and I just didn't like that. And, it's so great if you have somebody that can mentor you to say, how did you feel? Why did you do that? Why did you want to lose weight? Why did you want to feel better? Just to give us a mental slap so that we can be accountable to our goals and our whys of why we want to live a life that's on purpose, not by accident. Like I tell people, it's living life on purpose is so much more than just finance. It's working on your health, your nutrition, your exercise, your 6 inches between your ears. And so many people discount the fact of how powerful our minds are. And then the associations of who we have to enhance our mindset is so critical, because back to that big bone thing, that comment that somebody might hang on to and use it as a justification to eat improperly.
Yeah. And it's not even, even the mental slap is more like, okay, what happened? What were your thoughts when you decided that I'm going to have wine tonight, or I'm going to have dessert tonight? And again, it's not wrong. Let's just be aware that we're choosing it, and why we're choosing it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, you know what? I'm pissed. I'm mad. I'm stressed, whatever's going on. And we can go back and do all the work and be like, okay, what was the trigger, and shift that. And I have a process for that I work with my clients on. But it's, if you're like, you know what, I'm tired, I'm mad, life just didn't go well for me, I'm going to have some wine, and I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. And that's okay too. It's bringing that awareness to it. It's the people that aren't even aware of, hey, this lifestyle is going to slowly kill me, and it's making me feel like crap, present day. So yeah, to your point, and I love that you said accountable to yourself, because people talk about accountability partners all the time. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Ground me if I don't do it? So I had to show up and go, yeah, I didn't do it. Then what? I mean, you can get the questions of, am I going to disappoint somebody else? Like if we're all adults, that just doesn't, in my mind, that doesn't work anymore. But the being accountable to yourself is really where that's at, because it's like, why, if we say we're going to eat healthy and then we don't, where is that out of alignment? Because you're not keeping your word to yourself. And then we can go in and do that work and be like, what's really going on that you would not do that?
Yeah. So keeping the promises that we make to ourselves are so imperative. And I'll dial it to the listeners and we'll get ready to wrap up here. Myself, I made a decision, I don't know how many years ago, let's say 15 years ago. And I've had people say, well, you're doing, and I'll explain what it is I do every day. I do one thing and I make sure before I leave my room that my bed's made. And there's days where I've jumped out of bed and thought, oh, I'll do it later. And I don't care if it takes me another 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever. I make my bed because I made a promise to myself. And if I don't keep that promise to myself, it throws out my day, even if I'm not conscious of it, because there has been the odd time. And then I'll think to myself, I'll go upstairs and go, I didn't make my bed. Maybe that's why I felt this little, you know what I mean? Those little subconscious things that we don't realize that are so imperative. Just like I'm going to eat a specific way. I made a promise to myself. I don't do it. Then I don't do it. And then I might beat myself up. Oh, I said I was going to work out. I didn't make it. Beat myself up.
Right.
It's
But
learning those things to be accountable to ourselves, to keep those promises that we say we're going to do. Isn't about impressing others. It's about loving and impressing ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. So good. Yeah.
Right.
And
So go on.
I mean, sometimes there's a really good reason, that you didn't make your bed, whether, if the dog's standing at the door, sound like it's going to throw up in a second.
I had that happen a couple days ago, and it was literally hours later. I went upstairs and I went, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I promised myself I'd always do, but I didn't beat myself up because the dog needed to go out. Just like you said, probably a good example because it did happen to me.
Just knowing to give yourself grace. And if you're disappointing yourself, then let's lovingly be like, what's really going on then? And sometimes you do have to borrow from your future self of what it is you want for your future, so that you can show up that way today and do those actions that are going to get you to your future self.
Well, I love that because I remember sitting down and literally trying to figure out what I was going to do when I wanted to lose this 40 pound and what I wanted my future self to feel like and look like, because it was just when I had that realization, I wanted to look different. I wanted to feel more comfortable in my body. I was getting tired of the fact of how my clothes were fitting. There's just so many different things. I just had to, okay, future, what do I want my future self to look like? How do I want to feel about myself? And constantly remind myself, and like you said, borrow from your future self so that I can keep myself on track. And on the days where I wasn't on track, didn't beat myself up, I just went, tomorrow is another day. Okay, this happened today. It wasn't a mistake. It was a life lesson that I learned that it wasn't what I wanted. So tomorrow I'm going to show up differently.
Right.
And then have enough good people hopefully around me that are going to have that compassion when I'm talking to them, and they'll say, well, how are things going today, Dwight? Oh, I had this go on, and oh, why did that happen? Empathy is dead, and that's part of the way that we have a hard time in society staying on track, because people are judgmental. They don't have enough empathy to other people's circumstances. They're judgmental, and a lot of times they're judgmental and have no empathy because they hate their own lives. So that association isn't probably the best person to talk to. We need to dial it and change our associations in order to succeed. Health, wealth, mindset, nutrition, all of it. A lot of it has to do with the fact of who we associate with in our lives, and not just people. It's what we listen to, what we read. It's just everything. So any last closing thoughts in regards to?
I like what you said about, it, like how we want to show up in life, and well, you just said it, but yeah, that that we're talking about being accountable for yourself, because it does, like how we show up, like how we feel about ourselves does affect how we show up in the world. And it does feel good to look good. But let's not wait till then to feel good.
Yeah, do whatever, listeners, people watching this on YouTube, Theresa's available, right? Reach out to her. You can tell her compassion. You can her radiant energy. It's just amazing. That's the type of person you need to associate with if you want to level up your mindset, which is directly tied to your nutrition, directly tied to exercise and your long-term health, and learn how to love the person you are. And if you want to scale and change a few different areas, you can do it. It's just a matter of finding the right associations in your life. So, Theresa, if you had to give our listeners one last closing message, what would you tell them in regards to giving a heck and never giving up?
I would say you always have a choice. Always have a choice. That's what you said a few minutes ago. It was like going through life hating yourself. Like, that sounds unfun and like just a really rough journey. And I know we all have stuff that goes on in our lives. We all do. And it's sad and unfortunate, but that doesn't have to define us. We have a choice of the meaning we're going to give it and how we're going to show up moving forward. And we all, like, I didn't arrive at this place on my own. Like, I had help. I have coaches. I just knew. And if the first thing doesn't work, keep looking. Just, you always have a choice, no matter what your circumstances are.
100%. And that's the biggest thing. Never give up. There's always somebody out there. You could have the best nutritional person, exercise person, financial person, whatever in the world that works for 7 out of 10 people, and out of 3 people, they just don't connect. And you may be one of those 3. So find somebody that's you can have the same level of energy flow, and that's going to make you not feel bad about your circumstance, wants to build that relationship and connect with you and just help you level up, become the ultimate version of you. What's the time frame? I don't know. Sit down, figure it out, reach out, and take just, life is about starting at little baby steps. You don't have to be the marathon runner all at once. Start out baby steps, work from there. So I appreciate you being on. This has been fantastic. So you're welcome. So our time is almost up, and I want to respect our listeners and your time. However, before we leave this excellent conversation, can you please tell the listeners what's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me is probably you can email me, tvermillion1@icloud.com. You can find me on Facebook at Theresa Vermillion. My website is lighterlifecoach.com. And if you want a tool you can use to help get you going on your journey and do some of the things that we talked about, you can go to itsnotaboutthecupcake.com. You can download a free tool there that helps you with emotional eating.
Wow, I love that. It's not about the cupcake. I'll make sure all this goes into the show notes. Listeners and viewers, you can access that at giveaheck.com/podcast, and you'll see Theresa's beautiful smile, and you can go right below it. You'll see the show notes, and scroll down. You'll see all the links. I'll make sure that your email, your Facebook, your website, all that information is in there so that people can easily access you. And for those that are nervous, sometimes you need a connection, reach out to me. I will connect you to Theresa so that you too can live your life on purpose and get off the hamster wheel of life. So thanks so much for being on Give a Heck, Theresa. I appreciate your time and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn it is never too late to give a heck. Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please also post a review.
I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.